I was a bit shocked to learn what I did. It was all rather frightening.
The more we stop and think about it, what do we know about her?
Right.
She had no training. She could have doubled your pills and killed you. It just staggers me that the police aren't interested. Because of that, she thinks she's got away with it.
It requires a lot of training to be able to handle these pipes and valves.
David is 89 years old, a successful businessman who travelled the world for 40 years. But life has slowed down a bit now, and after a stroke in the summer, he needs help at home.
We've shopped around for a carer, and the local GP practice district nurse recommended this care agency. They offered us 2 different people, and my father chose Tracy. And she arrived the next day on the train. This is the CV that we were given, with a photograph of Tracy saying she has exceptional experience in caring for all sorts of things, including catheters.
This wasn't someone just coming in to do the groceries and doing some washing up?
No, this was somebody with experience and qualifications in personal, intimate care.
But this is not a straightforward story. It's a mystery that's left this family angry and deceived. Because from the start, the care fell short.
We had to teach her how to open and close the catheter and empty it. She'd never seen one before, which was a surprise because her certificates all said that she could do it. These are the pills. Some are taken with breakfast, some are taken before breakfast, some are taken at lunchtime. You have to know what you're doing and have a timetable. But she was just giving you pills here or there and everywhere, wasn't she?
But she just wasn't trained.
She was with us for 3 weeks, and the only time she left the house was when my children were here and they all went out for a jolly walk with Grandpa in his wheelchair.
Grandpa has seen something.
Really, and one of my daughters was filming her children playing with Grandpa, and that's how we got our image of the woman who was with us. And as soon as she saw the camera, she stepped out of view. Nobody thought anything of it at the time. I was continuing to ring up the agency on a regular basis and saying she's useless, and they kept saying, we don't understand why you're so unhappy with this carer because we think she's marvellous. And we said, what you are describing is not the woman we had. And that's when we picked up the video and compared it to their photograph of her, and we realised it wasn't the same woman. And the next morning she just packed her bag and left. And who was she? And why was she hiding in our house?
Sarah faced 2 options when looking for a live-in carer for her dad: fully managed care versus introductory care agencies. While both can provide live-in carers, there are distinct differences between the two. Companies offering managed care are legally responsible for training, supervising and monitoring the care on offer. They also pay the carer's salary and national insurance. Managed care is regulated by the industry watchdog, the Care Quality Commission. Introductory care agencies, like the one Sarah used on the other hand, match carers with families. They must make sure the carer is qualified and eligible to work in the UK, but the carer is self-employed. The client employs and pays the carer direct. And crucially, this service is not regulated by the Care Quality Commission.
She basically conned £2,760 out of us to send a stranger in her place.
Whoever they were keen to get paid.
She must have thought this was such a good idea, and let's see what we can get away with. OK, let's get you down. Well done, you're down.
Right.
Your eagle has landed.
Sarah and the care agency involved both contact the police, urging them to investigate. But on November the 4th, a police officer writes to the care agency and says this: the police have limited lines of inquiry, that they'd need an independent witness to confirm the allegation, and without further evidence, it would be deemed not in the public interest to send an officer to talk to Tracy. So with the police seemingly unwilling to investigate or even to visit Tracy, I go and find out for myself.
So this is where I think Tracy lives. We've traced her address to this street. I actually know nothing about this lady, but I do want to try and talk to her to see if she can answer some of the questions we have. So I think the best thing is to go and knock on her door and see if she'll talk to me.
A few minutes later, I'm face to face with the lady at the centre of this bizarre story. And Tracy tells me she's done nothing wrong.
So you were definitely there in the house? You definitely cared for David?
for David still, yes.
Yes, because they think that a different person...
I was there. I did the job. They don't believe and they don't want to know.
I have a photograph of that person.
And that was not me. That was what you think.
So how do I explain that? Do you want to tell me this again? Is it possible you can tell me what happened? Because the image that I have of the lady who was in David Seal's house, just with respect to you, Tracy, it's not you.
Tracy takes a deep breath in.
I don't know how to explain this.
The story begins to unravel.
It's so bad, very bad, and I'm so sorry because something I've never done in my life. Because when it comes to care, I give it all.
Do you understand why the family are so upset? Because
I know.
your job was to give David medication and a total stranger was in
I
their
do.
house, potentially giving him medication who didn't have the training.
She was trained. I gave her training because I thought it would be...
But you know that's not enough, don't
Yes,
you? You can't just give her training.
Yeah, I know.
Did you think that you would get away with it? No one would notice?
Yeah.
And what do you have to say to David's family?
I'm so sorry that has happened to them, which has never happened before. And I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that happened.
It's a deception that nobody saw coming.
Tracy says that there was a problem with her driving licence or a problem with her car. So she asked her friend to go in her place.
Well, she knowingly, complicitly sent a completely untrained, complete stranger into the house of a vulnerable elderly man who is very ill. God, the nerve of the woman.
Here we had someone in your house who you knew nothing about for 2.5 weeks administering medication to your frail father.
What she could have done to him. And he's on some quite serious pills. If she'd got it wrong, she could have done some very serious harm.
Having previously told the care agency that they had limited lines of inquiry and that they would not be sending an officer to speak to Tracy, when we approached Hampshire Police for comment, they said this: officers are carrying out a number of inquiries and the incident is still under investigation to determine whether any crimes have been committed.
Okay, let's go and have a word with him.
One of the reasons why suspicions were raised so quickly is that Sarah lives next door to her father, so we're off to speak to David to get his reaction to what we've uncovered.
How do you feel about the fact that there was a total stranger in your house for nearly 3 weeks looking after you?
Well, I feel very cross about it. We've been fooled and misled, and that's entirely wrong.
And David's really clear about something else. He thinks introductory care agencies like the one the family used to hire a carer need stricter regulation.
The CQC, I thought, was responsible for regulating the care industry. When we get in touch with them to tell them about this tale, they don't want to know. There's no point in being responsible for the care industry if you only deal with people who are registered with you. It's quite pointless.
You had employed an introductory care agency. They're effectively introducing you to a carer, making sure they're legit, and then passing them on. But when it comes to someone crossing the threshold of the door, you have no way of knowing.
No. We didn't see any of the identity papers. We were just told, you know, you've chosen this woman's CV from the 2 we sent you. Here she is. It's absolutely incredible that the CQC are not involved. I reported it to the CQC and I got a response, no, it's not our problem. And I was very surprised to discover that the agency sending carers all over the district aren't regulated in any way.
The Care Quality Commission confirmed this, telling us, as neither introductory agencies or self-employed carers are covered by CQC's remit, we are unable to take action in this case. I asked Tracy if she thinks enough was done by the introductory care agency to get to know her, to fully check her out. She said she only met the agency over video call, not face-to-face.
They never meet you. You never meet anyone. I don't think I've never met anyone face-to-face from there, or they know who are you, what kind of person are you to meet you.
Do you think there should be more checks?
They have to do checks. They have to know who's going in the house. They have to make sure they meet people, because by not knowing, who knows, this wouldn't have happened.
We asked Access Care, the agency that supplied Tracy, for a comment. They told us, "We were shocked to hear of this terrible deception and are deeply sorry for what Mr. Seal and his family have experienced. When we heard of these alarming allegations, we contacted Action Fraud and the police and commenced an urgent safeguarding review. We have strict protocols in place. However, these extremely unusual circumstances have given us cause for reflection. We are in the process of developing further security checks and procedures for families in receipt of care at home."
There we go, David. Nice glass of squash.
Thank you.
The care sector is big business. Home care services in the UK are worth over £12 billion a year and rising, according to the healthcare analyst Lang Buisson. And legitimate care providers help ease the pressure on the NHS. In fact, in September, the Care Secretary Stephen Kinnock wrote to chief executives and directors of adult social care services, telling them of the government's so-called home first approach that supports people to live independently for as long as possible, describing a relentless focus on ensuring high quality care in the community, just like the kind of care David wanted.
That treatment in the community, that treatment at home, hinges on trust, doesn't it, for it to work? And I suppose this is an example of, it's a cautionary tale of, if we cannot get things like this right, how are we going to get all of that bigger stuff right?
You've got to know who's coming into your house. And I think the introductory agency system is clearly very flawed. If the system can be played this easily, the system needs to change and be more secure.
We have had a response from the Department of Health and Social Care. A spokesperson said the following: "Our sympathies are with David's family and friends in this deeply concerning case. A healthy NHS and social care system requires strong regulation to ensure patient and user safety, and that's why we are reforming the Care Quality Commission to make sure it is fit for purpose."